world. But I was just wondering what some of your thoughts were as you're hearing about this increase in suicides among our youth.
Well, I'm not surprised. We grew up different. We had that village that kind of taught us indirectly when things get tough, the tough get going, and you're not going to like everything that happens to you. However, you are going to toughen up, see it through to the end. Somewhere along the line between the elders and aunts who become ancestors, and it's crazy that from their generation to our generation, we've lost that. So now everybody gets a participation trophy in a sport. Man, we didn't have that. If your team sucks, your team worked harder to win next year. Or you got the same thing that you got the year before, nothing and a losing record. Everybody gets it's the inclusion thing, so they don't know a lot of times how to handle rejection or how to handle being told no, how to handle discrimination, how to handle being stereotyped. And so because they don't know how to handle these things and they don't feel comfortable probably coming and talking to mom or dad, because mom or dad has always done for them and have not forced them to do for themselves and guide them along the way. So their mindsets are different. It's like, all right, well, I can't do this. I'm checking out. And it's becoming a thing where it becomes their normal. It's not our normal because, it was restricted to certain people. Like, you feel bad, you want to kill yourself? Hell no. We're just going to fight this through to the end. And if it's jacked up, then that's the way it's going to stay. But at least I tried. And some, I'm not going to say all, because there are some parents out here that are keeping the traditions and having children do some things on their own to fall down and make the mistake and to get back up and correct those same mistakes as best they can. So, when you do for a child, you do more damage than you do good, because if they don't kill themselves, which I hope they don't, but they end up growing up being dependent on someone. And what happens in most cases? Children outlive their parents. So once their parents are gone, the ones who enabled them, they have no one left to help them. They've never been forced to be empowered. So it's a disservice to, and we have to take a hard look at how much babying are we doing. You can't discipline a child like you used to. They say, okay, we'll take your kids from you. It's child abuse, this is that. But some people don't believe in it. Some people do. I'm a firm advocate in discipline when necessary. And there's a difference between discipline and abuse. And those of us who've experienced it know exactly what it is. Some who've experienced it and didn't. And, and some people who experienced it but didn't like it gave it another name. There are a whole bunch of experts and all of this stuff that want to tell you the effect of something on children. And the first question I have is, do you have any kids? Because if your answer is no, please don't give me this research where you sat and watched someone else's kid, but you have none in your house to turn your hair gray and to come home and, give you some things that you didn't expect to happen until they were later or wiser in years. I never expected my wife to tell me my son was going to have a child, and he was 18, turning 19, and I was like, wow, okay. Were we angry? Yeah, we were, but there's nothing we could really do about that. But now, wouldn't trade my granddaughter for the world. She's here, so now it's time to raise her, and show her the things that we were shown so that she grows up to be a respectable young lady, man. She doesn't grow up to be one of the wild ones, as I term them, being lost and they don't know what you want to do and just kind of trying to figure things out without your eyes being open. That's not a plan for her. And as long as we're here, you'll have a course. You may deviate from the course. You may change what you want to do, because we all did that. Everybody wanted to be something growing up. And then as you got older, you say, you know what? No, I don't like that anymore. My interest is here. So we've all done it, but at least she'll be able to do it and, carry the lessons and the traditions with her. So when that day comes, when she's a mother, then we can continue our lineage and our history never dies, if you will.
Definitely. And I was expecting that phone to ring, but one other quick question, and I want to get to the phone call and everything. But the other article that I found really interesting was that article talking about the fact that there are more women in the U.S., speaking of young ladies and everything, learning to handle guns for protection. So I know a lot of people are wondering about the assault rifles and background checks and things of that nature because of the recent shootings that happened. But it says that, and this is another one where they had an example of somebody from around this area, but it says there are an estimated 20 million female gun owners in the U.S., according to the Well Armed Woman, a membership and training organization for women gun owners. A 2015 National Firearms Survey found the percentage of women who own guns is rising, while the percentage of men who own guns is falling. About 12% of women own guns, up from 9% in 1994, according to the study in the Russell Sage Foundation Journal of the Social Sciences. About 32% of men own guns, down from 42% in 1994. Gun ownership carries benefits, protection against intruders, and deterrence to crimes, but also risk, according to a study in the American Journal of Public Health. Guns are used in suicides more often than homicides, the journal reported, and having a gun increases the risk for both the gun owners and others in the household. It also says the National Violent Death Reporting System found 2 out of 3 accidental shooting deaths occurred in a person's home, and half of those killed were accidentally shot by a friend or a family member. Still, many people, especially women, say guns help them feel safer. Women are far more likely than men to report owning a gun for protection as opposed to recreation. About 1 in 4 women say the only reason they have a gun is for protection.
You know what? I honestly believe, and I applaud those sisters, get those weapons to protect yourself, because there's some nutcases out here that can't handle rejection. There's other pervs out here that want to try to take advantage of you. And if you need to get them a hot one so that they can understand that they are not accepted, then so be it. I know a lot of people say, well, why we don't need this many guns. Okay, yeah, they shouldn't have assault weapons. I understand that. But the basic being able to arm yourself to protect yourself is something important, because I'd rather die trying to defend myself than to kind of duck, dodge, and wait for death to come. So, for those sisters and females, regardless of race, creed, or whatever, yeah, arm yourselves. That's a good thing.
Understood. I could definitely understand that. I don't have a gun currently, but I definitely have had relatives with guns and thought about having different other kinds of weapons of protection. So I can definitely understand that and everything. I think I did hear the phone ring, and I'm expecting the phone to ring a couple of times. But I believe we might have a activist who is also a singer in the area, Laura Sue Walensky. So I'd love to have her come on and talk a little bit about what she's all about, and maybe we'll even share a little bit of her music, because I did put some of it that has silver for Silver Nightingale, which is what she stands for, attached to it. So if you see some things that say Dad Silver, that's her music. So if you look for that, you might see something.
Yeah,
and it'll say, I know one is No Nukes, and another one is, there's a couple of songs, but I'll have her talk about that. And the Dad Silver was for her nickname and everything. But if we can bring Laura Sue Walensky on, I would love to have that conversation, at least to start and share a little bit about what she's all about.
All right, give us 1 second.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. You're on the line. Tell us who you are and where you're calling from.
Well, thank you so much. This is Laura Sue Wilansky, and I do call myself the Silver Nightingale, and I have some other music names, too. I'm just one of those very versatile kind of musicians, and one name really just can't cover all of the various personalities, musical personalities that I have. And thank you very much for inviting me to come on the show and talk about my work.
All right.
Definitely. Would you share a little bit with the audience about your early beginnings of your musical career? When I read about you, and like I said, I believe I met you through Sree and some of the other folks that I've met that way and everything on the Sunday read-alongs. But if you would share just a little bit about your music and how that came about, and also I understand that you might even know some friends of mine, because I'm definitely friends with the local chapter. Now, I want to say they started in Florida. Well, actually, I think they started in Kansas, but had a gaggle in Florida. But Vicki Ryder is a longtime friend of mine who's a member of the Raging Grannies here in this area, and I understand that you may know some of those grannies as well, folks that mix both their activism and their music.
It's possible. This is such a big area down here in South Florida, and I know I've seen the Raging Grannies, and I hear about stuff they're doing, so I may know some of those people. I'm not 100% sure, but that's quite possible. And we've been having some really huge demonstrations the last couple of years, way bigger than anything I've ever seen since I moved down here. So, you know, there are many, 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 many activists down here now, and it's great to see that. As far as my history, you know, I grew up in a very musical family, singing Broadway songs and playing classical music around the piano and singing together, and a lot of different kinds of musical activities. So I love music just from a very core place of myself, because it's just always been a part of my experience and my family. I went off to college in Syracuse, and during my years there, I started to really get a lot more educated about political things, especially from people like the Syracuse Peace Council, and there's just a lot of very progressive political people up there, the Barragans, you know, all kinds of peace and anti-war activists, environmental activists, no nukers, and just a whole range, you know, women's movement, just tons of stuff. And there's a long tradition of politics and progressive work in that area. So when I lived there, I started to learn, and I just wanted to use music as part of that. Started playing in women's bands and seeing political folk musicians. There's a group called People's Music Network that was started during that time by Charlie King and a bunch of other people. I went to a lot of those early conferences, heard a lot of other topical musicians, and that's an ongoing group. That there's many people writing and performing topical and political music from, you know, that started in those days. So I just started playing, you know, wherever I could, all different kinds of music. I also learned about music for meditation, music for healing, self-healing, for healthcare, vibrational energy of music, a lot of different things like that. So I really have a range of different kinds of music that I love to listen to and to play, and some different things that I've written and recorded. It's hard to sum up a lot of years in just a few sentences, but that kind of gives you an idea of where I started, and then I just continued to play whenever I could. The way I see my political music, in a lot of ways, I mean, yes, I'm giving my point of view, but I also want to speak for activists and give voice to the views that I hear progressive activists expressing, and I want my music to be a voice of people whose voices may be not heard. And also, it's always been a really important goal of mine to uplift and support activists through my music. So, there's a lot of different elements to the things that I do.
Yeah, because one of the things that surprised me, and I was just wondering if you could allude to that and everything,